about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Duck, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Robin, I've never told you this before, but I am a product of the earth and the sky.
Yes, you are. I think we all are.
I am a product of the earth and the sky. Yep. when I was a kid, my father was the earth. My mother was the sky. And what do I mean by that? Well, my dad was like a no-nonsense guy. For those who know me, you know that my dad was a policeman. And my mother was all very loving, very forgiving. My father didn't trust anybody. If somebody came to the door, you know, that was just he didn't want them to be there. He would tell them so.
Yes, good for him.
But my mother would listen, and she would be, you know, kind and gentle, and then go get my dad. Would you get rid of him, please? And when I was in the 1970s, when I was you know, trying to have a career in music, I found two record companies and publishers out in Los Angeles that were earth and sky also. The earthy one was all business. Everybody wore a suit. Everybody, it was all about business. It's you make music and you sell it. Boom, 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 boom. But the more spiritual one, the more earthy, I mean the more sky one was the one I went to, because I liked the way they approached it. You know, it's about the music. If we make money, that's okay. But all in the end, you know, if you don't make money, then that's not okay either, because you end up, you know, failing, actually. So it's always been a battle for me to try to understand, you know, what is the best way to do business. I mean, somebody says, like the other day we went to the Hard Rock Cafe, $22 to park.
Yep.
And I complained about it on Facebook, and somebody said, well, that's capitalism. I said, yeah, but I'm not anti-capitalism. I mean, you have to make a money. So is there where do you draw the line, you know? So,
right. So
we have this wonderful book here that kind of answers some of these questions, and I thought it was quite a coincidence that this book was waiting for us this morning. It is written by an author named Price Schwenck. He is on the phone. He's the founding director of Jacksonville Bank Corp. He's the chairman of the board of the Jacksonville Bank, and his book is called The Journey of an Enlightened Leader, a collection of thoughtful and affecting writing on happiness. And I think he hits it on the head. I think he has figured out the balance in when it comes to business and personal life. Price Schwenck. Good morning, Price.
Good morning. Thank you for that, Larry.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I live in Ponte Vedra Beach.
And that's here in Florida, right?
Yes, right outside of Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. And I think you've hit on something, because you can't really be all earth or all sky. You can't be all... You have to have some kind of an enlightened. That's your word. I like that.
That's one of my favorite words, and I don't mean it as it relates to my work and this book so much in a real spiritual way. Is just more of, hey, let's make sure that the things that we're doing, the things that we believe, are in sync with reality, and so the journey is really an effort to discover what's really accurate as far as our beliefs. And I think most people want to work for companies that are more sky-like than Earth-like.
I think so. I think so too. So how does this happen for you? I mean, what was your journey that led you to this point?
Yeah, well, I've had about 40 years of management experience, mixed with a good bit of academic work to help me as I moved along in my career. So my work is based on a combination of a lot of study and a lot of graduate work kind of study, but mainly actually being in the trenches, working with people and witnessing what works and what doesn't. And, all business is okay as long as the things that you're doing in that effort. Take in account the accurate beliefs about human nature. In other words, most of these companies that people don't really like to work for treat employees as if, you know, you can't trust them. They can't be trusted, and that leads to all kinds of problems, of course.
So go ahead.
And you had brought that out in one of your chapters called The Power of Trust. I mean, you wrote it so well, and you outlined everything. It was just great to read the excitement of your writing.
Thank you.
So one of the areas that I can see this being applied to is the following way. If you run a retail store and you decide you're going to have a refund policy, and you have this you know, I don't know this. How do I say this? This approach that says, look, I'm going to trust all people. I'm not going to distrust anybody. Anybody who comes in and says they bought this here, I need a refund, we'll just give them a refund. And if you're right 90% of the time and you're wrong 10% of the time, you take the hit. But somebody else would say, I don't trust people at all. I'm going to make them prove that they bought it here. I'm going to give them only 10 days to return the item. And that's how I can see this actually being applied. And I don't know which is the better of the choices.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I don't think there's a real simple answer to that. And there's plenty of examples of stores that have these no question ask refund policies, and I think those are pretty successful companies. So I would kind of lean that way. But as it relates to leadership and whatnot, that issue of trust is really important as it relates to the dynamics between the management team in a business and the employees. If the basic feeling of and belief system of management is we can't trust these people, so we got to keep our finger on things.
Right.
You end up using a lot of authority and command and control kind of an approach versus if you sort of assume that people. After all, these people that come to work for you, they live pretty responsible lives. You know, they go to church, they raise families, they volunteer. You know, and so why, when they walk in the door, all of a sudden shouldn't they be trustworthy? Trustworthy in the sense that they'll, if they are willing to commit to company objectives. And anyway, the difference in those two beliefs will create a significantly different method of managing people.
And you have yourself undertaken that task. You go so far as to not just give yourself credit, but you credit Covey and his principles, and you bring that to the forefront. And I think that makes you a better person because you're learning as you're executing.
Yeah, I think the journey is a long process, and for a management team, it's first of all kind of saying, we got to do better. I mean, if the company's in crisis, that is kind of is an easier opportunity to say we got to do something different. But if a company is prodding along, they're doing okay, it's quite difficult to say let's change, let's try to figure out some way to do things better. But once that happens, then it's a journey, and that journey is aided by reading and studying and together, and people like Covey, sure.
Yeah, well, I have an example in my own life. I worked for the state of Florida, and my immediate supervisor, in my mind, was a very enlightened guy and greatly influenced me. And he used to say, and the state of Florida had this sick day policy, that you had so many sick days that you could call in. And he said to me, I would rather refer to them as personal days. And he said to me, Larry, if you ever want to call in because you need the day for whatever, you don't have to be sick. Just tell me what you're doing. You know, don't tell me you're sick if you're not sick, even though on the paperwork it'll be considered a sick day. Just call it a personal day. And I think he was onto something, because I think the state eventually embraced that. This was like 30-something years ago, so or more than that, actually. But I think, and the expression he would use was setting yourself up to be for betrayal. If the only way I can take a personal day, let's say I just want to go on a field trip with the kids on the school trip, the only way I can do that is to lie and say I'm sick, then I have betrayed my boss by telling him a lie. It's better to say, look, you're okay to tell me the truth as long as you don't overdo it, that kind of thing.
Sure, I couldn't agree more.
The book is called The Journey of an Enlightened Leader. Price Schwenck has written the book. He's here in Florida, up near Jacksonville, and we'll take a little break and be right back to continue this conversation. You're listening to The Source, WOCA, Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, clouds and a few intervals of sun, along with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Any thunderstorm can produce large hail, the high 83 to 87. Mostly cloudy tonight with a passing shower, lows in the mid to upper 60s. For tomorrow, a shower with thunderstorm in the morning, then some sunshine, high 82 to 86. Wednesday, partly sunny, chance of a shower or thunderstorm along the coast, the high 83 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Skip ice cream and have gelato. Yeah, it tastes rich because it's denser than ice cream. Gelato, you should know, has half the fat of most ice creams because it's made with milk, not cream. Go ahead and order the pad thai. Just stick it in the fridge. Eat the cold leftovers the next day. You want the resistant starch. Punctuality is one of the most difficult behaviors to change since it's deeply rooted in a person's personality.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your mobile Verizon rep. But not just here, I'll deliver the phone to you in your home. While I'm there, I'll only sell you what you need and I'll personalize it to you. Want to have me get you connected? Then call me at 352-528-0020. I even offer unlimited home phone service for just $20 per month. Just call me, your mobile Verizon rep, at 352-528-0020.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
Ooh, a xylophone. Sounds dreamy.
Yeah, they don't make them like this anymore, Robin. I'm shipping it to the Musical Historical Society.
And you're packing it like that?
What, this won't work?
Why don't you take it to the Personal Service Center at the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street in Ocala? Just look for the yellow signs.
Great idea. That'll save me a lot of time.
The passing of time.
Personal Service Center makes sending packages easy.
And quick. Call 789-6683.
For the Personal Service Center. All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Price Schwenck is on the phone. He's the author of The Journey of an Enlightened Leader, and it is a great handbook to perhaps give you some insight into how to be a better manager. One of the things, Price, that you pointed out in the book was about ego, and I wanted to talk to you about that just a second. I had heard once before, and I'm not saying you should hold wages down, but if you want to motivate your staff, have a company newsletter, assuming it's a large enough company, and in that newsletter, make sure you feature the employees so that everybody has their chance at their 15 minutes of fame, at least in the company newsletter. And it actually serves for morale. It serves to improve morale better than a raise would, as far as the longevity of how good one feels about oneself because of that.
Sure. Well, we all are human and have the same basic needs, and one of those needs is to feel good about ourselves, and as it relates to our work, hopefully to feel good about ourselves, on the job. And if the things that a management team are doing thwart that, then you've got in a way a sickness in that employee or group of employees. Psychologically speaking, it's not a whole lot different than if they weren't being paid enough. So taking heed to ego needs, that kind of a psychological need, I think is absolutely critical.
Yeah, well, we're in a weird position here in radio because one might think that the people on the microphones were the ones with the biggest egos and therefore the ones to be treated, and I'm not saying it's not true, but I think it's important to recognize the egos of the salespeople need to be addressed. The egos of everybody in the business need to be addressed, not just the ones who have. I mean, we're the tip of the iceberg. We're just a very small part of this whole operation here.
Sure.
So and I think we recognize that. Do you know one thing people will say? They will say, I don't like the way he runs the business. He runs it like the military. And not this business, other businesses. But at the same time, I always think, well, but people in the military are always so loyal to whatever branch of service they're in. So I don't understand why it doesn't work in the business world, but it does work in the actual military.
Well, used to that military model of management is what you might call the traditional management theory or whatever. Right. At a time in private industries past, that kind of stuff worked, where you could threaten a person with his job. You were threatening his livelihood. There wasn't a lot of social welfare backup systems. And so there was tremendous dependency, and the word dependency, I think, is the thing that you got to concentrate on. If I, as an employee, and you're my boss, Larry, if I'm totally dependent on you for my survival, then I'll do what you can. You don't have to be nice to me. You just tell me what to do, and I better do it, or else I won't have a job and I'll starve. Yeah. Now the military isn't that severe, but it's a lot. You don't want to not follow orders if you're in the Army. You can go to jail for not following orders. Right. If you're working, hey Larry, if your boss really ticks you off, you can quit. They're not going to put you in jail for that. You can't do that in the military. So that military model, which still more or less works in the military, although a lot of the stuff that I've read about good military leadership, there's a lot more sky going on there than there used to be. In other words, like in the way you described it, right. Being mindful of the people that you're working with, and that these are good people. Right. So I think that's the difference, and we've got to a place in our country where people where they may need a job, they don't necessarily have to have, they don't have to work at a particular place. And so if you get a little too much of a commanding kind of an organization, they'll either do one of two things: they'll quit, or they'll actually quit, but they'll stay on the job. And they quit because you've lost their heart and soul, you've lost their energy, they don't care so much about your company, they're not loyal, and so that's even worse. I mean, I'd rather. I would think that if the employee would just leave, go get another job, that would be better than if they stayed on the job but just, laid out, so to speak.
Your book redefines incentives, and that was pretty interesting to me.
Well, that we're talking about the things that management teams do that may have worked years ago, or they might work in the military. One of the very ingrained management practices that you see in a lot of companies are these incentive systems that are based on a ranking. And Larry, you were talking about a sales force. So you got 10 people that are in your sales force, and you're going to rank those people based on the dollars of revenue, sales that they make, right. Advertising dollars, whatever you guys do. So you got 10 people, and you rank them based on that. And the purpose of doing that is, if the purpose of doing that is to control the behavior of the people, then what you end up, and so you see that a lot in business. What you end up with is unintended consequences. So if you have 10 salespeople, you're going to have one person's going to be at the top, and you'll have one or two people that are at the top. The rest aren't. The rest are losers. Is that what you really want your people to feel like? What also happens, and I've seen this so much in these, and I'm a banker. My background is banking, and I've worked in these very, very large banks where ranking is the way that you evaluate performance and you pay people and whatnot. And in fact, it's the way that you can keep your job. So the unintended consequences are many, and one is very dishonest behavior. If you need to perform in a certain level, call them tick marks or sales or whatever, you're going to do everything you can to make those goals. Even if it's not quite honest, or in some cases very dishonest. You definitely there's definitely a deterioration in the relationship among the people that are being ranked, because you got competition that really, in a lot of cases, doesn't serve any positive purpose.
Yeah,
and it goes on and on.
I think having an enlightened leader is also the difference between somebody losing their job because they made a mistake and somebody not. And I've often thought this before, that a good employee who makes a mistake that a boss considers as a fireable mistake is making a mistake by firing that person, because if he's a good employee, he's not going to make that same mistake again. It was a mistake and maybe a cost, but guess what? If you replace him with somebody who never made that mistake, the new person might make that same mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah, a good point. Very good point. And so you got to be. And another reason to really try to relate to the people that are, if you're a manager, relate to those people that you're working with. An honest mistake. It shouldn't be punished to that extent. I mean, typically.
The opposite of that, though, is the guy who's really, really good, who you really want to give a promotion to, and then you give him a promotion, and suddenly he's in a management position making more money, but it is not his cup of tea. He just doesn't want to be a manager. He wants to be somebody who's actually working to create the product.
Yes.
And so you've actually made somebody unhappy unintentionally. That's got to be a harder shot to call.
Yeah, I've seen that over the years, just more often than you can imagine. You take most any job, and your company will train the person to be successful in that job, whether it's a automobile mechanic or a teller in a bank or whatever. There's a lot of training and a lot of skills that are necessary to run that job. You take a person like that because they've done a really good job, and you all of a sudden make them a manager, but you haven't trained them, and they haven't received any training.
Right.
All they have is their observations, perhaps. But so often the person, like you say, is not either suited for that kind of work, or they just haven't been trained. I mean, it'd be like asking me, a banker, to go build a bridge across the St. Johns River here because we need another bridge. I mean, I'm not likely to do a very good job of that. Right?
Me either. Very, very insightful topic, actually. The book is called The Journey of an Enlightened Leader. Price Schwenck wrote the book. I have a copy of it. Call me if you would like the one that was sent to me. The rest of us have to go buy it. Price, I'm going to ask you to give us some websites. I'm guessing this is on Amazon. Where else can we get it? And do you have a website?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, in Barnes & Noble. You can get the ebooks or the hard copies. I have a website. You can order it off of that, and take a closer look at the book before you decide to buy it or not too. And that's just my name spelled out, Price, Price, Schwenck, SCHWENCK.com.
Okay, excellent. Price, thank you for being on the air with us today. Good luck with the book. And if you have another one, don't hesitate to call us to ask to be on to talk about the other one. And if you're ever in Ocala, stop by the studios and say hi. We broadcast from the local mall. It's called the Paddock Mall.
Great. I will definitely do that. Nice to be with you, fellas.
Thank you. Thank you, Price. All right, we'll take a little break. We will be right back.